it looks like we got our quorum here, so why don't we call this meeting open at 7:05? Sound
Perfect.
good?
Yes, sir.
All right. And how you doing, Dylan? Good?
I'm hanging in there.
Good. Don't do otherwise. Keep going. So I just wanted to start off by welcoming James Ratcliffe here.
And good
Yes,
evening,
welcome,
everybody. How
James.
are you?
Thank you.
Happy to be here.
Good to see you. Well, perfect timing. We're just about to get underway. And just wanted to welcome James Ratcliffe to the group. James, how you doing?
Great. How are you guys?
Good.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here and happy to be a part of this committee. Just a little bit about me. I'm actually next door neighbors with Andres Sculti on the call here. So nice to have the two of us together, and yeah, we can just talk in our front yard if we need to about some things. But no, I've been serving on the Farmington Board of Education since January of last year, so about 18 months. And looking forward to being the eyes and ears for this committee on the Board of Education, and do whatever I can to help bridge the gap of communication between the board and this committee, and hopefully we can do some fun things together.
Awesome. That's kind of the plan. I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for joining us, James. Well, you're about to get into it. So
Rip off the
why
band.
don't we That's right. I'm just gonna say, go Boston.
That's right.
So why don't we start with what's going on at 1179 Farmington Ave? Did you want to cover that, Dylan?
Yeah, I can. So essentially a development group has I wouldn't even say submitted plans. They have presented plans to our planning staff and at the most recent zoning board meeting. Um, these are purely concept plans. In fact, they're still working on their massing, so these will change before they actually put in a submission. So what we have now is purely conceptual, trying to demonstrate what the developer is envisioning for the property, so that they can properly describe their vision to the board and to the planning department. These kinds of plans are also used to see how the development works with the local and regional zoning laws. Um, so these are all things that are being looked at right now from, you know, say the 10,000 foot view. We're not going to get to that, 1,000 foot view until they actually submit a full set of plans and we know their full intent. Um, on what they are submitting and what is feasible with the property. I know there were a lot of comments back and forth with the developer and the planners, and the board had quite a few questions, one of which did get into the bicycle trail or multi-use trail as it's described on the plan. So with that, I think I'll leave questions. That was kind of the 10,000 foot overview of where we're at with that right now. I mean, we're still far too early to get into plan reviews, considering that that plan that was presented is going to change and it could change quite significantly.
So just a quick, I guess, my point of view on this. I had consulted with Bruce in the town eons ago on where they wanted to put the trail.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Bruce. There is also a proposed river trail, as I'm sure you recall, Bruce,
I do know
it
that's
being
kind of what
called
that's kind of
that.
where I was going. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
So I actually have the 20, would it have been around 2018 or before then?
17 maybe.
17? Okay, so the published plan in 2018 I have, and I can bring that up. It was specifically designed for the midpoint development. It's quite literally called the Midpoint Development District. And it describes the property used for the midpoint development. Plant 117 is, which is the property that has the recent, proposed development plan. And then Waterside 10 LLC, which is Anthology.
Yep. And what I recall, and I haven't looked at it in many years, but
Let me share my screen real quick.
oh, if you've got at least I recall it's not really a plan, it's a schematic.
Exactly. This isn't set in stone. This is kind of dreamy where we think it would be,
Yep, that's what I
kind of
recall.
thing. Obviously there are right-of-way implications. Not all of this property is owned by one individual corporation or the town. This is kind of a what I would describe as a piecemeal trail as land is developed. That blue line there would be your river trail.
Yep.
And then the
And I
green
guess
lines are
I guess
connections to different trails and multi-use trails.
and I guess my comment is if we're talking to essentially a new group of developers, let's consider asking for some sort of a through route.
They have provided that in the conceptual plans that they
They did.
provided.
Okay.
They did.
All right.
Yes. Yep, a 10-foot wide paved multi-use trail.
All right.
I'm guessing that'll be part of the minutes once they get posted because I haven't seen them yet. I looked for them.
The minutes from zoning are posted. I can
Oh, they
share the
are?
link. Yeah.
Oh, I thought I looked online. I didn't see them on the website.
Let me pull them up and I'll send you the link, Brian.
Oh, thanks. You
Yeah,
want to
no
put it in the
problem.
chat?
Yeah, I will.
And then just my final point on that is that it'd be nice for this board to be able to have a little bit of purview over what they're finally going to ask for.
Yeah, I talked with our town planner, Shannon Rutherford, which is the name I display in Zoom. This is her account after all.
You can rename yourself.
Yeah,
out
but
there.
then she's got to rename,
Yeah,
and I'm not the only one that uses the account.
Oh, gotcha.
It is socially acceptable now.
Yeah. So, where was I? I talked with Shannon. She will allow us to take a look at the plans and provide some comments to the planning staff. We're an advisory committee. We don't have any teeth into this really. It's all from the planning side and what they can lawfully have put into the plans. So
Sure.
right, just as any other advisory group would advise. I just
no, absolutely.
want
I
to put that out there for everybody so that everyone understands and we're all on the same page.
Yeah, no, I wasn't implying that that we had any iron fisted in terms of because I know we don't. But I do think that it's an opportunity for us to look at all of these connections and a good opportunity. We don't get that many opportunities to do that. So
so
that's all.
Big picture, when the midpoint development is built and this proposed development is built with some kind of trail, it will connect to the midpoint development, so they're kind of anchored there at that end. It's the endpoint which they're aiming for a connection. They're foreseeing a connection to this road here that comes off of Route 4 by the Chinese restaurant. So I believe their plan was to bring it around here, go through Melrose, and then end here. So we would have this gap from my cursor. Can you see that?
Yep,
To here of unpaved surface, which is land that the town does not own, may I also point out.
yep. And I recall that coming up as well. And obviously, if the town wanted to continue, that would have to be some sort of right-of-way conveyance or some other.
Yeah, or you wait till that property, which is a fairly large property too, to get developed.
Yep, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yep.
Did
So-
Bill Warner put these plans
so-
together?
I'm sorry, what was that, Brian?
Did Bill Warner put these together? Don't know.
Prepared by LADA PC, which
Hmm.
I'm sure is some kind of license or certification.
I think
Oh,
I think it was the old developers that did this.
Oh,
I don't think it was the town.
oh, okay.
And so my question is that, with this development, kind of progressing the connection forward, or I guess eastbound from the bike path, how do we best connect from there to Route 10?
Hold on, I have one more thing to bring up. I did my homework on this one. All right. I could have sworn I emailed it to myself. Oh,
Hey, if we're at
Uh-huh.
10,000 feet on this, why don't we just move on to something else? It seems like we're burning up a lot of time in the meeting on it. It's my opinion.
Fair enough. And if it pops up, if you want to come back to it, Dylan, we certainly can.
yeah, but Andres, to answer your question quickly, basically once you get to that road that's in between the Chinese restaurant and the wastewater treatment plant, from there you're on pavement and you connect to the sidewalk, which is in front of the wastewater treatment plant, and you're on sidewalk, which is a wide sidewalk through where the state redid the bridge. And then you could cross back onto Route 4, get off the sidewalk at the end of the bridge in front of what was the real estate place there?
So,
Coldwell Bank.
so
Yeah, thank you.
is our plan to create full sidewalks from Melrose to Route 10? Because there's definitely gaps in between.
There are gaps
No.
in between, and there is a plan to fill those gaps
Okay.
along Route 4.
Is that something that we've got funding for and we need grants, or do we need grants for it, or is that already in the town cycle and it's gonna happen?
We would have applied for a grant last year through LOTSIP. However, the budget for the project, with it being on Route 4, it was police traffic control heavy, which you need that on Route 4, especially since we're going from Union. The project covered from basically Monteith Drive all the way to High Street, filling in gaps throughout. So with a project of that scope and being that exposed on Route 4, I can't have a concrete truck just going willy-nilly around Route 4, especially at peak traffic hours and whatnot. So it was heavy on the traffic side as Route 10 was, and we were just a little too above the threshold for LOTSIP funding on that. So It's possible in the future we go for another LOTSIP grant, maybe accompanied by a STEEP grant, which was some of the partial funding for the Route 10 sidewalk project. Or maybe through the sidewalk committee, the town council allocates some funds to this project to get us under that threshold for LOTSIP, and then we can go for the LOTSIP funding.
So Brian, is this something that we have to apply for the town council for 2026, or do we already miss that? Now we're talking 27.
I'm
Probably
not sure. We haven't.
27.
Yeah, I think we're at least a year out
Yeah.
from doing
And
that. In
this
fact,
is-
before we do that, and I'll give you an update on that if this is an appropriate time since we're talking about sidewalks. And I was just going to ask you guys for your input on this. Our next step on the sidewalk committee is to look at the town and see where we might want to put some sidewalks in so that we are better connected to rails to trails, to public recreational areas and to schools and to commerce. So we're looking for ways to possibly put in some new sidewalks where necessary. And I wanted to ask for your input because I think you guys would have a good idea of where we might need to put in sidewalks to reach the rails to trails to substantial communities, not just anywhere, but that would serve a greater number of people in the town. We just made an outline of what we would be looking for criteria to see where we would put some of those sidewalks in. And I'd be happy to share that with you. And it's certainly going to be in our minutes. But I'd like your input on where we might want to consider putting in some sidewalks to reach like rails to trails and recreation areas where you guys feel it would be helpful. And we're going to get together at the end of our next meeting is on August 20 something. Let me see what that date is. But we're going to get together in a month. If you have any suggestions on where you might want to see some sidewalks, that will be August 26th at 6 p.m. So if you have
We've
any
got lots of suggestions here.
I'm sure you do. I mean, and we're just starting to put together a list, and we are going to be asking people in the town for input, but I wanted to give you a heads up. We just discussed this last night, so I wanted to make sure I shared that with you. So suggestions we might want to consider, some sidewalks.
Is the jug handle on the top of the list?
Well, we're doing the plan for that house, and we know we're working on that plan. I don't know if you have any updates for us on that, Dylan.
I don't at this time. I don't at this time. We are just working on getting an RFP together.
Brian, would we be able to
Getting-
leverage the Safe Routes to Schools program to give us a list?
That's a great suggestion. I don't see why not. Is that something that they would put together?
For sure.
I would think so.
Yeah, I would think they,
Connections related to schools.
yeah, I think they provide guidance, to some extent. That's, Bridget Moriarty, at, DOT.
Yep.
Bridget Moriarty at the DOT Dylan, is that someone that you can reach out to see if we
Yeah,
can do that?
I have her contact
I
information.
should get involved in since
Yeah.
I'm
Yep.
on the sidewalk committee.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let me know if you need any introductions to any of those folks. I'm happy to do that.
I definitely would, and maybe we can schedule a time that Dylan and I could connect with her at the same time and kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. We can set that up, Brian.
I would say
All
one
right,
thing,
excellent.
Brian, in conjunction with this,
Yeah.
and in fact, in conjunction with what Dylan was just talking about, which is let's manage expectations in terms of
Yeah.
building sidewalks. I want to be careful to telegraph to the town that, for instance, LOTSIP will pay for X. Steve grants will pay for X. And we just want to be mindful that we're not going to be building every sidewalk in the town in the next 3 years. It just doesn't work that way.
Exactly. Yeah.
so
Absolutely.
we-
You're absolutely right. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we just want to we want to prioritize, I think is what I'm trying to say.
It's
Yeah.
like our road program. It's more of a 20-year plan.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Are
So we are looking
sidewalks
for suggestions
necessarily
from you guys.
located? Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I was just gonna say we're looking for suggestions, and like you said, Bruce, we're gonna prioritize them based on what makes the most sense and what's affordable, what's doable. So I'm just looking for a couple of suggestions from you guys. And I this is something that is kind of in our wheelhouse. That's why I wanted to ask you first.
And I think with helping prioritize, it affordable is important, but it might get the most bang for the buck or the most value to do one of those expensive sections where we do have to pay the police to be on Route 4 while they pour concrete. You know, even if it comes in at 3 times the cost of a different section, you know, that might be a trunk artery that's used by everybody versus just one neighborhood.
Hmm.
You know, and what I'm kind of afraid of is if we go for the low hanging fruit, the big stuff, the really important stuff, you know, just gets pushed out to next year, to next year, to next year. And, you know, especially with Route 4 and DOT, you know, stuff takes a while. You
Yeah.
know, and so it might make sense to prioritize some of that up front, even though it's more painful and it doesn't seem like we got that much done. But, you know, maybe it gets the most people.
I have to agree with you. I think the metric isn't just the money aspect of things. It's the safety of the greater good concept.
Hmm. Hmm.
And you know, one of our huge problems, and we all know it because you know most of us ride bicycles, is we're crisscrossed with state routes, and it's an issue, and we know it is.
Hmm.
So, but I guess that's why Brian, we hire you guys. That's that's why I'm not a politician.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's fair to say that Dylan, we're already looking at how we can put some sidewalks in on Route 4.
Yeah, that plan's already done.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
I thought so.
it's ready to go out the door. It's purely a function of, you know, for example, let's say the cap on sidewalk projects for the last run at LOTSIP was $1 million. We came in at like 1.2 or something like that. That was the whole reason we couldn't go for it because I don't already have the extra 200,000 secured elsewhere. I can't get a LOTSIP project funded partially without having something ready to fund the other portion.
So Brian, is that a matter of going to the town council and allocating some, I don't want to say rainy day, but because when that opportunity
When you
strikes,
talk
let's
about
go for
those
it.
numbers, we're talking about maybe going to a referendum and asking the town for the money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if Brian, if I correct me if I'm wrong, I'm gonna piggyback on some things you said. It sounds like the sidewalk committee is more focused on getting high population numbers to
Absolutely.
related trails, schools, uh,
Right.
Townsend's Mead and other recreational facilities, such as Westwoods or some of the Little League fields. It seems like that's more
Right.
of their focus, not necessarily so much cost prohibited.
No, exactly. And
I don't
I'm
think you
pulling
guys
out
are
the
looking
actual
for.
language.
You know, speaking of the Little League fields, there are already desire paths heading down from the bike path to Tungus Mead, down to the river's edge, down to the baseball fields. Why isn't that a consideration? Desire paths are already trampled down and you know, we're not counting where people are going once they leave the trail, but the best data we have really is
Yeah,
those
Carolyn, I
desire
think
paths.
we're trying to get a freebie and piggyback off Midpoint's connection for that.
No,
That
yeah,
was,
no, I get that, but there are other places along the trail that people are making those paths. It's not just that one spot.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
also
such
it's
as
hard, I
Andros.
think, in a really kind of because we're so sprawled out, suburbia, there's not kind of like one neighborhood that's really gonna, necessarily, one area is not gonna really cover it for most people. I think unfortunately it's kind of a neighborhood by neighborhood thing. As far as I could imagine, it's, there's no huge high-rise apartment and then everywhere else is single family homes. It's mostly single family homes in this town.
I would think that the biggest bang for the buck would be to get connected to the elementary schools and middle schools. Those are the local neighborhoods, and kids want to go to the fields there. They want to use the playgrounds. When they could ride to school with parents, and when they're old enough, they could ride to school on their own.
I mean,
We're
me, big
yeah,
fan of safe routes to school, but
exactly.
you know,
And I think that would answer a lot of questions. And with Jimmy on board here, um, hopefully we get the discussion and we get the Board of Ed blessing to say, okay, let's engage Safe Routes to Schools, and they can do that free audit for us and give us a list of, hey, here's where we're lacking the sidewalks, and here's the first priority. Here's maybe for 2026. Here's the priority for 2027. And I haven't talked to Bridget about this, but it would be, I would think that they would give us that laundry list and just say, hey, here you go. And it's going to be geared for schools, but I think that also kind of covers everything else too. We engage them also for, connecting to the Little League fields, connecting to Westwoods, because those are all places where students go.
And that's exactly the criteria that we put together. I have a copy of it here. I'll just say there's 5 criteria that we're looking for, which is connecting to a public school, connecting to a recreational area or facility like you're talking about, connecting to a public trail system, enhancement of walkability to town centers, and leverage of outside grant funding. So we're trying to
so,
serve.
so
Go
I
ahead.
guess my question is probably for Jimmy, because I don't know how the Board of Ed works. Um, the Safe Routes to Schools program needs a signature from somebody on the town that says, yes, go forth and do it. We give you permission. And, I don't know if this is a process where one person can sign and say, okay, great, you're engaged. It doesn't cost us anything. There's no liability, and let's make it easy. Or does this actually need to get put on a Board of Ed agenda and get discussion, get put through committees? And, how is it easy, or, does it, warrant a bigger project?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have to, Andres, I have to figure out what has historically been done on the board. So I know, Bill Becker has been involved in this in some way, shape, or form. I know Kathy is aware of some of the efforts that are ongoing with this committee, and just with bicycle in general within curriculum within the educational system. So I just have to do a little bit of research as to, what's been done and what needs to be done from our perspective. If the signature comes from Kathy, or is it coming from the town council, to get the surveys done. That's something that we need to push forward. I just got to do my legwork on the back end to find out what that connectivity is.
Well, here's crossing fingers that it's easy.
So Brian, for your committee, right?
Yeah.
One thing that I think you should look at would be if we ever get a third bridge across the river, right? I'd hate to have that built and then just dump onto New Britain Avenue with no connectivity to the trail. So if your committee could look at that, how you would get a sidewalk, and preferably not a 3-foot sidewalk, right? We're talking 5 foot so that it's more multi-use, to get
Dylan, I'll
people
let
from
you
the
field that
trail
one.
across the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neil, I can answer your question already.
Okay.
In the concept plans that SLR have prepared for the town as part of the overall traffic study, there are proposed trails on and off the road, with connections to the rails to trails.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Awesome.
Because yeah, you've got a lot of people that live in Oak Ridge and on New Britain Avenue. It would be good to have them be able to connect.
Yeah, they will be connected. That's one of the selling points of the bridge.
And get their cars out of my way, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like I took us a little off the beaten track there by asking for your input on some sidewalk placement, but it was kind of piggybacked on what you were talking about, Dylan. So I wanted
Yeah,
to get
no,
it in there while
that's
we're talking
fine.
about trails.
I think since your meeting is next month, I think if everybody, takes some time and maybe sends an email to the group like, hey, found a spot here that would connect you to Westwoods Elementary from this neighborhood or something like that. Can go from there and you can take that to your meeting.
Would it make
Yeah.
sense to have a survey link that the Bike Walk Farmington can push out on Facebook and Instagram and whatever and say, hey, if you're a resident and you're looking for a sidewalk for a certain area, please fill it out. Because we're,
Mhm.
the group of us, we know our town, but at the same time, there's also spots we know our local area the best. And
I'm glad you
I'm sure
brought
there's
that up,
other
Andrew.
people.
That's exactly what we're working on. We've got the outline of a survey right here. But
Awesome.
what we're hoping is to do is ask you guys for your suggestions on where we might start off with
Okay.
and then open it up. But just say we're thinking about these particular areas. Are there any ones that someone else might want to? And we've just created this week a process that anyone who would want a sidewalk could go through to get one.
Cool.
But also with the information about how you have to go through it, and we're tossing around the term super majority of people who would be receiving the sidewalk kind of have to agree to it since it would be on their property. So it's getting
Sure.
those folks who, who would be receiving the sidewalk, are they on board with that? So, I mean, there's some steps to go through, but there's also a process that you can follow that we're putting in
Okay.
place.
And
So
how does it work on Route 4 with commercial businesses? Can we just say you're getting a sidewalk on Route 4 and this is happening and tough? Or is there a chance that a business that doesn't want it can say no and leave a gap?
Fair question. You want to feel that one, Dylan? Because we have been talking about that a bit.
You guys have or have not talked about
No,
it?
we have. We're talking a lot about the apron and who owns the apron.
Okay, well,
And
from my perspective, and I hope I don't contradict Russ or someone that might know more than I.
if you do, I'm not going to bring it up.
The right-of-way space is owned by the municipality or the state that operates within the boundaries. So
Mhm.
within our town line, the right-of-way is the town's, unless otherwise stated by the state of Connecticut along state routes or through HOAs, roads that are not owned by the town. So for instance, along Route 4, if the state deems it necessary to have a sidewalk, I'm pretty damn sure they're building a sidewalk.
There will be a sidewalk.
Yeah, and you know,
Yeah, so the
as long
the
as
short,
it's within the right of way, it's typically up to the municipality.
yes, that's the short answer. The short answer is who owns the right of way.
Yep.
If it's the state will do whatever the hell the state wants.
Yeah.
If it's the town, that's a different issue.
Yeah.
And in fact, if it's, as you say, an HOA or a private easement, then that's a whole other kettle of fish.
Yeah, and there are also going to be utility easements that would probably have to be crossed. Which
Yep.
at that point, it might come up with Eversource, Connecticut Water, MDC. For instance, the town of Farmington doesn't like it when you put something on top of the sanitary sewer. Because if we ever need to get down there, now I have to move your 10 by 20 shed.
And we're not
Plastic car in it, and you
Yep.
can't drive it out because the ground's all muddy because the pipe broke.
Yep, and we're not paving over fiber optic or gas lines either.
Yeah, typically not.
Yeah, so yeah, but those are generally speaking, those are the constraints.
Yeah, and generally speaking, as long as we have the right-of-way space between edge of road and however wide we need for whatever facility or infrastructure we're bringing in, as long as it's within the right-of-way space, it's typically a non-issue. Typically, sometimes there's local pressure on local leaders, from, maybe. I don't know. I can't think of an example right now, but
The-
I'd
the
rather
other
not
thing-
get you guys all caught up in the wherefores of the sidewalk. I want to focus
Yeah.
on what we're doing. I don't want to take you too far off the trail, so to speak. So I was hoping that we could continue talking about the yield to pedestrian signs that you were sending around, Ron. And did you want to cover that, Dylan or Ron?
well, Ron, why don't you start? Because you said you wanted to talk about it, but I don't, unless I missed an email, I don't think you clarified a question.
Oh, no, I actually didn't. I was just, I've noticed them in a lot of other towns. And I happen to notice a couple of areas that are like coming over the Unionville Bridge to take a right into the plaza. That crosswalk where the karate place is.
Uh-huh.
I've seen so many near misses there because I believe you can go right on red, or can't you? Oh, I forget. Well, people are doing it anyway.
No, you can't. If that
can't.
thing's no right on red on all sides, but you're right, people run it all the time.
But people who are crossing aren't pushing the crosswalk signal, which there is one there, so they've got to push that because it's a lighted, it's a
Signalized cross.
right. So I guess that sign would not be the place.
I don't think it typically applies there. It's really for turning movements of vehicles. For when, Bruce, correct me if I'm using the wrong term, for when the light is passive and it's a passive walk.
Yep.
So for instance, when you have one direction green or bi-directions green, such as most of Route 4 is, I think all of Route 4 is actually, except for when you get to Unionville, for when you have those passive walks. That's what those signs are there for, and that's a recent state project. That's why they've been popping up all of a sudden. It's because the state's been going around popping them.
No, the state's spending a lot of money on those things, and really, Ron, the acid test is does it have pedestrian activated heads? Then that's essentially the acid test. So in other words, then it's pedestrian activated safety corridor on the paint, right?
Yeah.
But if that's not there, then as the Romans would say, caveat emptor, right? People are gonna try to go right, and they're gonna, it's an issue.
Yeah, I mean the solution is what the DOT would call over signage, or they might have another term for it, but or sign pollution.
Yeah.
We can put up signs that say whatever we want, as long as they're in the MUTCD and within the state catalog. However, at what point does the sign message not get followed?
What place do road diets have in this intersection? Like, is that because I know those are really effective usually, as opposed to signs.
They are, I think. Oh boy, that's a real can of worms.
I think we have turning movement
over here, right?
but well, no, I'm kind of glad you brought it up, because the real issue there is, would DOT accept an argument that a road diet was acceptable there? And so that would be like plan A, and I would be very skeptical if they would.
Yeah, I think the bridge width is an issue, and I think the bridge proximity to the intersection is an issue.
What are you guys talking about? What's a road diet?
Yeah, aren't there many ways of doing a road diet, not just decreasing the width of the lane?
So Matt, as a practical matter, a road diet is generally speaking, narrowing travel lanes to create an artificial ability to slow traffic, and or along with bump outs around exits and egress, and center refuge islands, and a variety of things essentially that you can use in design that dramatically slows traffic.
Okay.
If you take a ride up the boulevard in West Hartford, you'll see exactly what it is. 'Cause they've
Yeah.
got bike lanes on both sides. They've got speed bumps they're putting in now. They've got bump outs. They're really going to town in West Hartford.
Yep.
The
In
thing,
fact,
my concern would be this. We want to allow people to ride their bikes on the road. You start putting bump outs, you start narrowing lanes, and now you've got bikes competing with space with cars. You're going to get somebody killed.
that's the downside. That's the downside.
I
So
agree with you 100% on the bump outs. I don't like them one bit, and I've been clipped a few times at them. But
Yep.
speed bumps, yes, I will go with those all day long because those slow people down.
yep.
Well, our group ride goes down through Unionville. We go by the speed bumps there. We're constantly being pushed to the right by cars avoiding the speed bumps. I can't stand speed bumps.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I will say one thing, because we could talk about this for hours.
Okay. Yeah.
But as a practical matter, proper best practices in design would say, Carolyn, if you're going to do a road diet, then it should be in conjunction with a side path, a high-speed bicycle side path, and on the other side, so a cycle track essentially, on the other side, a wide sidewalk. That's effective. That works. And so to the road cyclist's point, then you're not battling traffic.
Yeah.
So Bristol just did a bunch of road diets on their newly. So Bruce, tell me if I'm wrong, but or Dylan, I always thought it was mostly like lanes are typically what, like 13 feet, or do I have that wrong?
13, 14, you can go down to 11.
And I think
it depends on average daily volume and speed.
okay, so I think that's what Bristol's doing is shrinking it down to 11, and the shoulders are huge now, which helps us, right?
Yeah.
Is
So
that
that
just with a
that
splash of
essentially.
paint? How
I'm
are
sorry.
they shrinking? Is that
Yeah.
are they just shrinking it with a splash of paint? Like the lines are just kind of skinnier?
Yeah.
But if
If
you,
it's that simple, right?
it does make you slow down.
Well, I
Yeah.
can tell you this just from my experience on Route 4. When they narrowed the lanes on Route 4 just a little bit, it made a huge difference in riding your bike down Route 4.
Yeah, I
I
think they
agree.
went from 13 to 12, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just
I
a
mean, you wouldn't
foot.
think it would do that, but it really did.
No, it was just a foot, but I think it made a huge difference.
Yeah.
Have we covered everything there? Because if we have, I thought, Bruce, if you wouldn't mind giving us a little update on what you found on e-bikes and the DMV bill.
Yeah. So a lot of what I thought didn't pass did pass, which is fascinating. In Substitute House Bill number 7160. So write down 7160. And the reason why nobody knew about it is because it's pages 60 through 82 in this bill. And I'm just going to give you a couple of things. There's a lot in here. Well, it's 22 pages. So most of this takes effect October 1st of this year. Two big things. Labels for the top tubes of e-bikes are going to be mandatory.
I'm sorry, the
which I
what?
find- So essentially with the labels, well, I'll read it. Bicycles offered for sale in this state shall, 1, ensure that such electric bicycles comply with all relevant requirements for bicycles established pursuant to 16 CFR 1212, which is essentially the e-bike classifications 1 through 3. 2, affix a conspicuous label to each electric bicycle that contains the classification, maximum speed, and motor wattage of such electric bicycle in print, not smaller than 9-point type size. 3, I know.
Just
Equip such class 3 electric bicycle with a speedometer that displays a speed at which such class 3 electric bicycle is traveling miles per hour. And 4, ensure that A, the motor of each class 1 electric bicycle disengages when the rider of such blah, blah, blah stops pedaling or reaches the speed of 20 miles per hour. For class 2 electric bicycles, disengages the brakes of an electric bicycle are applied, or such electric bicycle reaches the speed of 20 miles per hour. And C, the motor of each class 3 electric bicycle disengages when they reach the speed of 28 miles per hour. Elsewhere in this, it does still ban class 3s from trails, by the way, just so they reiterated that, I think about 15 pages from where I'm reading right now. So there's a few other important things. I want to mention that I had mentioned in the public and private testimony I gave to the Transportation Committee regarding modification, and there is a whole big portion of this that says you can't modify e-bikes to go faster, essentially. There's a lot of verbiage there, but it also provides for tickets, $100 for the first offense and not more than $300 for each subsequent offense. There's a new definition of e-bikes. I won't go into it, but it has a little more on operating modes, as well as modification and configuration of those modes. Let's see. I mentioned class 3s. Now here's some interesting things. No person under the age of 16 shall ride a class 3 electric bicycle. How about that one?
Good luck with that one.
How do you think that's going to work?
It's going to be really tough because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the center of Unionville has become crowded now with people are basically on e-motorcycles. Kids wearing full face helmets and riding on the sidewalks and anywhere they want. That's going to be something we're going to have to deal with.
Yeah, yep. No, I'm afraid that is going to be an enforcement issue. And so, Brian, just be aware that, this at some point will come to a head, because, in certain parts of town, we've got Hell's Angels out there,
Yeah. So on the bike trail.
Yeah, well, the whole bike trail thing is interesting because it really, there's some overtaking language, but it isn't much. So by the time you all read through all this, and trust me, your eyes are going to roll back in your head. But when you do read all this, you'll realize that this is still an enforcement problem. And it's going to be an enforcement problem. Now, I would say that what's new in here is electric scooters are included for the first time in a lot of this, which is very interesting. And there's a lot on scooters. So, what the planners would call, minor mobility devices. They even talk about skateboards at one point. But there are, so they're trying really hard. And this is the reason, by the way, it's in the DMV bill. They're trying really hard to delineate between a motor-driven cycle, an electric bicycle, and a motorcycle. And there's language, there's like 3 pages of language just on that, which I applaud because we didn't have that language before. So I would urge you all to look at that as well, because essentially that goes back to what I've been talking about for months, which is ultimately what's a motor vehicle, what is licensable, taxable, and in the eyes of DMV, what needs a plate, essentially, right? So, and they're kind of now addressing that. I still think there's some gray areas, but you know.
Wow, educating the parents on what they're potentially buying their little children.
Well, it's worse than that, and I'll get there in a minute, because there's a helmet law, except the helmet
Mhm.
law isn't enforceable the way they wrote it. It's a helmet suggestion, which really, yeah, trust me, when you guys read this, you're going to be all pissed off.
Well, I think, Bruce, I think one of the issues is going to be not the riders getting hurt. It's them hitting somebody on a sidewalk at 30 miles an hour. It's
Yeah.
gonna it's coming.
Oh, no, we know it's going to happen. In fact, there's so many near misses that aren't even reported that, so I applaud the Transportation Committee in making an attempt. We spent
Yeah, it's a
hours.
start.
It's a start. We spent 45 minutes talking about this in the Connecticut Greenways Council meeting Tuesday morning. And two things came to mind, one of which was expect lawsuits.
Mhm.
That was A. And B was expect modifications of this because,
It would be interesting
So-
to talk to Daniel Rodriguez about enforcement.
yeah. Well, I'm curious to hear what our police department says. I'm curious to hear what the state police have to say. I haven't heard a peep from the state police on any of this.
Hmm.
Very quickly, and then I'll turn it back over to you. But let me see. This is section 52B. No child 15 years of age or under shall operate a bicycle, electric bicycle, non-motorized scooter, skateboard, or electric foot scooter, or wear roller skates or inline skates on the traveled portion of any highway, at a skateboarding park, or any park, unless such child is wearing properly fitted and fastened protective headgear, which conforms to blah, blah, blah. Okay, here we go. You ready for this? Failure to wear protective headgear as required by this subsection shall not be considered to be contributory negligence on the part of the parent or the child, nor shall such failure be admissible in any civil action. So they spent a lot of time and effort writing that so that it can't be enforced.
That's interesting.
And I'll stop there.
Sad.
Except that headlights are now required on bicycles and e-bikes on public highways.
Hmm.
And there's some other stuff in there too. But I thought you'd all find that fascinating.
Yeah, I was curious to hear what was going on, so thank you for bringing that to our attention. Sad they don't have the teeth in that helmet law that is kind of necessary.
It's too bad. I think that
It's not a law,
I think that a number of legislators got to that and said that they were worried about selective enforcement in cities in particular. And I get it. I understand. A couple other things on legislation you all should know. The $10 million a year for the Connecticut Recreational Trails Program passed for this year, 27 and 28. So there's $30 million in the hopper for the Rec Trails Program, which is really good news. And a couple of other odds and ends. But that's pretty much it for legislation.
Well, thank you for bringing that to the table. I appreciate that. Thanks, Bruce.
Yep.
Thank you.
How about the Farmington Valley Trails Council? You got an update?
You're mute, Ron.
Farmington Valley Trails Council. Not quick enough. I should have had that. I'm on the signage subcommittee, and there'll be a lot more coming out about renumbering the miles from Bruce. Can fill us in when that comes around, but
Yep.
that's gonna finally get done.
So essentially, along with the final alignment of the Canal Heritage Trail in Plainville, came the realization from kind of all the stakeholders that if Mile Zero is going to be at the boathouse in New Haven, which it is, all the parties have agreed to that. We actually have an honest to God real mileage all the way to Suffield
Oh,
for the Canal Heritage Trail for the first time. So this committee is looking at quite a large grant to not only do, well, we're not sure yet, but certainly we're going to do mileage markers. I think we're also going to do some town markers and perhaps some economic wayfinding markers as well. So we'll see, what we come up with. But the idea is to try to get this in, hopefully for 26 as a recreational trails grant, similar to what the Hot River Trail did 2 years ago.
Bruce, I was just thinking of this today, riding on the trail. It would be nice to have markers out there because safety-wise, if you were to fall or see somebody get hurt, you can at least get the emergency services in the ballpark.
Yes. Yeah, no, in fact, honestly, that's probably the single biggest reason is our responders can have a mile marker that everyone agrees where it is. Which currently we don't really have too many of. Southington has painted medallions, for instance, that they use. Some other towns have various cobbled together systems, but wouldn't it be nice for the entirety of this trail in Connecticut and Massachusetts to have a system that everybody agrees to? And when you call 911 and you say I'm at mile X, everybody knows where that is.
That'll be awesome. Got anything else in addition to that, Ron? Excellent. How about
No.
all right? How about the Bike Walk Farmington update?
Neil and I attended the library's summer reading kickoff on June 18th for families, kids and their families. There were like 540 people in attendance that night at the main library. And
Wow.
so Neil and I, yeah, it was
That's
great.
awesome.
Lots of people. We handed out some safety info, watch from ECT info, some trail maps, answered some questions, and displayed Ron's excellent AI art, bike safety art. Yeah, it was a nice time. Well, Neil, do you have anything else to add about that?
No, I think you covered it. It was a good turnout. They had to move it inside because of inclement weather, but I don't think that kept people away.
Yeah, it was.
You guys
I
get
think-
any pictures of the event?
We do have a couple. Yeah, we could. I guess we could
Yeah, we should share.
tell you guys. Yeah, I could do that now. And then, or I'll do that right after I talk. We have a few other things coming up with the library. We have our display case that's going to be going up in August in the little kids section of the library. We have a Taylor Swift cover band concert that we'll be attending again to pass out safety info. And we also have the October 1st presentation, which Neil and Ron and hopefully Rich, I think you said you were gonna give a display of a tire change or yeah, I think so. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
We started a helmet check program where we have little stickers for children whose helmets are properly fitted. If they don't have their helmets with them, then we hand out the Watch From ECT pamphlet on how to fit a helmet to your child. And then the parents, after they have done that, are allowed to put the cute little sticker on their child's helmet. So we're hoping that kind of spreads because I've got a lot of stickers. So I do in my there are a few things, if I can just bring them up quickly. I'm just going to run through these so they're on the record and they'll get put into the minutes, right? The Plainville parking lot, is that Plainville's responsibility or ours? I know we
Plainville.
built it.
At
Okay,
Northwest, at
Well-
Northwest Drive,
yeah,
Plainville.
it's Plainville's.
okay. Dylan, Gas Man, have you ever reached out to them about that equipment in the handicap parking spot? Or should I just go in there?
Oh, you know what? No, I did not. And I was just there like Tuesday.
Apparently
just
you were
there
not in
yesterday.
a wheelchair exiting your handicap.
I was not in a wheelchair exiting on the
Um,
handicap ramp. Hold
How
on.
about the CVS handicap spaces that they don't have signage?
Well, they have the painted
Some of them are so faded you really can't see them. Aren't they? They're supposed to have a sign as well.
is
what
it
I-
both or is it just one or the
I
other?
believe you have to have a painted width. You have to have an area so that if the van parks there, they have enough room to open the door and get the chair out, and you have to
Yep.
have a sign. That's the legal three things you
Okay.
have to have.
Yeah, because if it's,
Okay.
if there's snow on the ground, you can't see the painted.
Yeah,
All right.
it's a 6-foot apron and signage. Yeah, that's correct.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Let me I'm gonna email our zoning enforcement officer.
Oh, we have one of those? Awesome.
Well, he's our assistant planner, but he does
Okay.
some of that too. So
Can I
he just got back Monday from maternity leave, so
Okay, I have
Wow,
to.
look at the water over there.
yeah.
So I have to check back in about our signage that needs to be put back on Burlington Road when you guys are done. There
That
were
needs
the
to get
arrows
put
and the share
back.
the road, yeah. And now I sent out months ago. I sent out the difference between share the road and giving 3 feet to pass.
Yep,
And
I recall, and we talked about doing 3 feet to pass instead of sharrows.
good memory. Okay, so that building along the trail before you get to the Route 6 bridge, it's brown, it's on the left. It's got a big, beautiful, plain brown wall. Do we know who owns that building? Because that'd be perfect for a Welcome to Farmington mural. Bike, pedestrian related.
Ron, is that north or south of Route 6?
Oh my God, it's either left, right, or up and down with me. Like, so coming from
Plainville?
the crosswalk, no, the other way, Red Oak Hill, it's on the left before you get to the Route 4 or the Route 10 bridge, sorry.
Route
Route 10
6.
or Route 6?
I thought
Route
you said
6.
Route 6.
You got it. Yup,
That is probably owned by Falcon.
okay. Just wondering if we have any connections and if they,
I do CPR for them.
okay.
If that's
So
the
maybe-
same one we're talking about, we'll look into it. You probably have to go with me so we can find where the building is and what town it's in.
We'll go on a field trip.
Okay.
Just don't give me north and south and east and west.
Where's the
Okay, where's the
emergency,
sun?
sir? Oh, God.
Cutting back,
Left.
Dylan, the trail maintenance, the cutting back between River Road and Railroad Ave, it's getting really overgrown. Has anybody else been there?
Between-
Actually, I hadn't noticed that, Ron. It looked pretty good coming to me today, but are you talking about coming up? Because it seems like it's pretty decent.
Coming from River Road on the right-hand side.
Cutting
Alright.
back, do you mean branches? Like
Yeah.
tree branches?
No, bushes.
Bushes? Okay. All right.
know
Between
you've got
River
a sketch.
Road and Railroad Ave. Okay.
Yeah, just to name one place. All right. When do we get back to the bollard issue? Was that next year with the 3 bollards in a row?
So the bollard bollard issue is, I think I've said when we talked about this, what, last year when that came out, Ron? Last
Yeah.
fall, maybe? The bollards will be done in accordance with town projects, as we move around town, or as a standalone bollard project. At this time, we're not looking to do a standalone bollard project, so it would be as those sections are repaved. I know that since I've been here, we have been looking at repaving the section between Brickyard Road and Red Oak Hill. Would probably be the first section to get the new bollards.
Okay,
Hmm.
because the most dangerous section is River Road there, where you've got the 3 bollards in a row, at least 3 rows of them, right?
Yep.
Because I almost hit one, so that's why it's at the top of my head again.
Okay, so the ones at River Road at the crosswalk there by the
Yeah.
just before the ice cream and mini golf, and then probably the other ones would be Railroad Ave, I think, or those are the only
Yeah.
Yeah.
ones that
recall
have the 3.
Yeah, and you know, that was a very unfortunate DOT design mistake when they did that. Those should be a little narrowed, you know, a narrow neck and 2 bollards instead of 3.
So remove the center bollard or remove the 2 edge bollards and leave the center.
Now I think you got to remove all 3 and put 2 at ADA width, which is 42, right?
Can we just do one?
No, you
No?
can't. Those are that trail's too wide there. That's
Are we also talking about the one that's just farther up towards the mini golf? Because there's the crossing on River Road, but then there's that road that never gets used. Remember, Bruce, we talked about that?
yeah. I know exactly where you're talking. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that one qualifies as well. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. One last thing. Bike walk, whatever we're called this month, is I've got yard signs being made, basically a call to action to join Bike Walk Farmington. What do I have to do to put them on the trail? Which is where, you know what?
I
even ask
can,
that?
yeah, I can't give you permission to put anything up on town property or property
Okay.
that we maintain.
Yeah, let's
If you
Right.
find that some of your signs that are on town property or town maintained property are missing, you can come in and pick them up. We typically do save them for some period of time, if you wish to reuse them.
Okay.
Called recycling, Ron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, Ron, you do need to find somebody to give you permission, because I put some signs up for a fundraiser a year ago, or a few years ago, and some of them actually ended up in the trash,
Oh,
down, off the big parking lot. And I put them up, and I went the day of the event to retrieve them because I didn't want to leave them up, and I wanted to be respectful. And that's when I found them in the trash. So,
man.
and one of them looked like it was just mowed over, and it was still there, but it was on the ground. So I think you do need to tell somebody and get permission. I just don't know who that is.
There is a sign permit. So Ron, if you could just send me the graphic of the sign,
Okay.
I can give you some more guidance on that. Just send me an email.
All
Yeah,
right.
so- So sign permits are encroachment permits, and
Essentially.
yeah, and so I don't know. I don't even know if you want to go there, but you know, it's worth giving it a try.
Okay.
Yeah, my experience over the last 25 years is it's almost universally no.
Hey, Rich, I noticed you've been pretty patient. Did you have something you wanted to share?
I just had one more thing.
Oh, sorry. I thought you might have a question for you. Go
Oh,
ahead,
no, I
Ron.
just had one more thing. It had to do, so,
My hand's still up.
okay, sorry. This selling lemonade on the bike stand, on the bike trail, is that something that gets approved? Like, I've seen the same people 2 weeks in a row. And believe me, I'm not against kids selling lemonade, but it wasn't for a charity. It just seemed odd to me.
Well,
In all my years, I've never seen it.
Those
I have
capitalists.
I have a set of boys down the street from me that set up on Route 83 and sell lemonade. And they'll sit out there for 8 hours a day, and they've got their bucket of ice, they've got their cooler full of lemonade, and they've got a
Okay.
rack of cups, and they've got a small little cash box. But they quite literally sit out there all day. I take my kids
At least
there
they're not riding their
sometimes.
e-bikes on the trail.
Yeah, I don't know what I don't know if they need like a health department permit or, you know,
People
what
die
that-
from lemonade. Okay, I'm done.
exactly.
Sorry, Rick.
So, um, I don't really have a comment other than they're kids.
Good for them.
Yeah.
So
Thanks,
Dylan,
Ron.
before we move on, you
Yep.
mentioned paving from Brickyard to Red Oak.
Yeah,
I-
that was
I,
Sorry, go ahead.
I've been meaning to point out and take pictures of where we could take down fence in town, and I swear from Big Bird Bridge going north, sorry, Ron, towards Avon, from Big Bird Bridge to the Avon town line, you could take every piece, every foot, and there's probably 5,000 feet of split rail fence, and it's unnecessary.
Yeah.
So,
you-
so if
you know-
if you're out there, take a look at it.
okay.
Neil, I walked with the town engineer and the DPW in Avon, and I think I told you guys this story.
Yep.
We took down 60% of the fence in Avon, and didn't put it back up.
Yeah.
When they redid their fence, DOT, had a fence fetish for like 15 years, where they were convinced that bicyclists and pedestrians and whoever using trails had to be funneled along the trail, and it's just simply not true, and we know it's not true. Now, does some of this fence that needs to be replaced need to be there? Absolutely, it does. There's grades going off. There's you name the safety issue. There's plenty of safety issues that have to be addressed, but an awful lot of it, Dylan, can go away.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
and I was looking at the grade on it, Bruce, and if you're familiar with that area, there's 3, 4, 5 feet on both sides before it goes down a pretty steep grade. So, and the funny thing is there's some sections where it's even steeper and there's no fencing. There's a gap. So, like I said, all of that could come down and you could reuse it in other sections if you wanted to, or just, take it down when you're paving. But I'd encourage people to look at that, because I'm sure if Avon took down 60% of their fence, we can beat that.
They also took down their bollards.
Yes, they
Yeah.
did.
Yep.
Well, Neil, I can say that when Midpoint Development gets built, they are responsible for lowering the part of the trail between the River Bridge and
Yeah.
the Big Bird Bridge. I would anticipate we lose some fence there too.
Yeah, I would think you would.
So,
Hmm.
but we will keep that in mind as we move forward with our trail maintenance and eventual paving.
Rich, I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, here you go, Rich.
Yeah, okay. This is really for James' benefit, being new to the committee. But I mentioned the jug handle earlier, and I don't know if he's aware of what that is, but what it is briefly to get a safe route out of Farmington towards the middle school. And that end of town, all the medical buildings over there, so that people would feel more free to ride their bikes that way. We're pushing all these things about safe routes to school. This is the biggest one in my mind. 7th, 5th, 6th, 7th graders 8th graders. Those are the kids that would be riding their bikes to school regularly because they don't have their driver's license yet. It's just a huge thing. And I just want to let him know, if he doesn't know about it already, that that's one of the bullet items that we're trying to push here on this committee. So that was one thing. And the second one was I did put in a work order for potholes on Meadow Road. It was acknowledged. This was about a month ago since our last meeting. Nothing's
Okay.
happened with them. So I'm going to put in another one. And I just was reminded this morning because they were all full of water when I rode by this morning, which is a perfect time to hit one and go over your handlebars and get badly injured, which has happened to me in the past in West Hartford. So I just want to bring that up again because I brought it up last week. I know the town's busy, but I think that should be addressed.
All right. I actually know the guy that probably answered your first request. I'm gonna put a note in my phone to text him in the morning or to give him a call, just to see where we are with those, Rich.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Put a reminder on right now.
That up, Rich.
And I would reiterate that if you and the town need any help pasting together an RFP for a consultant for the jug handle design, I'm happy to help with that.
Okay. Thank you, Bruce.
We really should get that out, while the sun's shining, as they say.
Agreed.
All right. Thanks, guys. I was looking at the website. Do we have any updates since the last one? Because it looks pretty good. Thanks, Carolyn.
Oh yeah, did the changes go through? That's good. Or
Did those changes go through? I just
the
saying it looks
last ones
good.
I sent, I'm not sure.
I didn't have them post them. I wasn't 100% sure that we were done or not. I can have them post them. That's not a problem.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
I was saying the page looks really good.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thanks. I think that was a group effort though. You, me, and Ron. Yeah.
It- Really clean, and it's very close to what you guys brought to the table as a great example.
Nice. Nice.
Good.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right. I'll make a note to have our IT department switch out the pages.
Yeah, great. I just to remind you, I sent over like the intro paragraph and then an additional section just based on the town's survey and the grade we got from the league.
Okay, I can put
Yeah.
it in a Word doc and send it to you for a quick proof if you'd like, just to make sure I'm not missing something that you had in there. If it's broken
Nice.
up. All right.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about the Bike Walk Vibrant Community Forum update?
Ron, Neil, that's your September-ish thing.
Bike, yeah.
Oh, yep. We'll have something to report next month.
Okay. And Safe Routes to School curriculum. I know that's on there, and here you go, James. Do we have anything on that we'd like to discuss for James? Have we talked to anyone about curriculum yet? I know you were talking to someone there, Dylan, for a little while.
Brian, should the phone call with Bridget also include James as well, or any of us,
It
or
certainly
do you want
can.
to keep that with you and Dylan?
Why don't we start there? Because we're talking about two committees coming together and find out what our next step would be for each committee. If that's sounds like
Yeah.
a good plan before we get everyone at the table.
Yeah, I think Brian and I want to hash out a few things for
Okay.
each committee with Safe Routes to School, since they'll kind of bridge both. But for right now, James, what we're looking to do, and I've had a meeting with both Bridget Moriarty and Dan Zatoon to discuss how we want to bring Safe Routes to School into Farmington, and what we want to focus on is the curriculum. And then branch out from there. Now we have some existing curriculum that is good. However, it's outdated, doesn't really hit all of the points that this committee or the League of American Bicyclists would like us to hit. And to further our goal towards reaching silver, which I know is a sore subject, Ron, with everything and how they graded the last application. Definitely sore on my part, but education is one of the big overarching themes of the application now. So we would like to update some of our educational material, maybe get new programs in. Safe Routes to School has a bike trailer where we could bring in bikes and have kids practice on actual bikes instead of just learning about helmet and knee pad and ringing the bell and hand signals. They can do that in the parking lot or somewhere else on school grounds. So I think that's what we're going to look at doing first. Dan has kind of given me a path to go down for that. Like your help in some capacity, and Brian, you as well, to further advance
Would you mind
that.
just sharing, and maybe we can take it offline too, Dylan? Love to
Sure.
hear like what path he gave you.
Yeah, no, basically we'll start by reaching out with the curriculum director, I believe it's called,
Yep,
the
Eric
position.
Martin.
Yeah,
Yep.
and
Yeah, he's
once,
new. He just started earlier this year, so
yes,
it'd probably be a really good time to get him involved. He's a great guy.
good,
So I think he would be a really great resource and somebody that would be an ally.
great. And I know that Ron has reached out to a gentleman who teaches PE at, correct me if I'm wrong, IRA
Union.
or Union.
Westwoods, right?
Is Kyle at Westwoods?
Oh, well, so there's
James?
Kyle, but also we have met several times with the Westwoods gym PE teachers.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it also seemed, James, it also seems like the PE teachers would be on board too, so I don't think we're going to have much of a struggle per se.
Yeah.
But if we could get some of that curriculum that Safe Routes to School has already prepared into our books in a way that works for both the town and the committee, to further advance our educational programs, to further advance us to getting silver, the next round of applications. That's our goal here.
I have a. So Bruce, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're getting confused because the trailer and the bicycles are Bike Walk Connecticut, right?
Yes, Bike Walk Connecticut has the bicycle fleet in a trailer ready to go, sized for kids.
And
Okay,
they
my mistake.
train the teachers as well.
Yep.
Their
Yep.
LCIs, their league certified instructors, come out and they do the training. They are actually the ones who have the whole curriculum, right?
Yeah, they've got a whole massive curriculum, but it's still, Jim, I think as a practical matter, you guys would still want to see that curriculum, obviously, and a lot of it is League of American Bicyclists stuff. I know that they consulted with Amy Watkins on some of her stuff, so that's Watch For Me Connecticut, which is a DOT program, and there's some other stuff in there as well that Bike Walk Connecticut had been using. Well, Windsor has one of the older educational programs in the state, and that's essentially what Windsor is using.
Weathersfield too, right? Was that
Yep.
Gene? Yeah.
Weathersfield and Simsbury's got a pilot project apparently. So there's some out there that are doing this already.
Okay, thank you for the correction, Ron. Sorry, messed that up. But yeah,
Well, it's a
that's
good
basically
proven
our goal.
package that comes in and gets done for us.
Right.
It just has to be approved by the curriculum team in Farmington.
And it can kind of be tailored to fit like any
Yes.
type of time frame that you need, to hold it within. So there's a
Yeah,
lot
Bridget,
of flexibility.
Bridget said we can make adjustments, like, if our current, for example, if our current curriculum is 3 days on bicycle and rider safety or roadside safety, whatever they call it, we could substitute that with a maybe shortened version of something that they already have. That's more tailored to Farmington with all of our state routes, trails, and whatnot that we have locally here, rather than maybe we take out the city stuff per se. Maybe that gets us a whole day, goes from a 4-day schedule to a 3-day schedule. But something like that, it can all be adjusted as needed and as requested by the town.
That's a nice package to be able to offer.
And and not for nothing, but Neil and I have been a part of all of these meetings from the beginning. So you wanted us to tag along, I think we could be of some help too.
Sure.
I know this isn't maybe what you're thinking of at the moment. I think the focus is fourth grade curriculum, but there are other curriculums for younger grades too. And the League of American Bicyclists does want to see all kind of the whole range of ages taught in our schools. And I know
Yeah,
that's maybe a very long-term goal, but it's important to mention.
we talked about doing it in more than just fourth grade.
Yeah, and those can be video driven even
Yeah.
for the younger kids and not be so involved with the bikes.
Yeah. So we did talk about doing older and younger students as well, compared to fourth grade.
Because
Just so you
Wallace-
are aware.
Noah Wallace does they teach kids to ride in kindergarten.
Yeah. We're talking fifth grade though, right? Because they're all together or do I have that wrong?
No, this is just in particular.
Oh,
I'm
no,
sorry.
I would-
Did I say you? Noah Wallace, just
Right.
them.
That
And
I
I
was
met with
asking
the gym
Dylan, was it a fifth grade curriculum that we were looking at? Because we were going to do it all in one school instead of going to each individual school.
I thought it was fourth, but I might be wrong.
It's typically fourth. Some towns do the fifth grade,
Okay.
but we had always talked about, because Westwood starts at fifth, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
that's who we've met with over the years.
And that was Kevin Kubas, right? Was that the PE teacher?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we can do fifth grade. That's not a problem. And like I said, we did talk about doing other curriculum changes in other grades as well.
So that kind of takes us right to our agenda for today. I think we've hit on everything that everyone wanted to cover. I'm making sure we didn't miss anything. But
I'm all set.
James, as you can tell, this is a very diverse, very passionate, and it's really a multi-layered team we've put together. There's a lot that goes on in this town in terms of biking and bike safety, curriculum, and this is what we do. So welcome on board. It's great to have you here. How was your first meeting?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I've learned a lot just in the short time that I've been with you guys. So I will continue to try to shepherd some of this stuff along that you guys have already started, and see what I can do.
James, have you joined the Bike Walk Farmington CT page on Facebook?
I have not. I'm not huge on Facebook these days, but I'm happy to jump in and join.
Awesome.
Brian, can I bring up just a couple of food for thought before we retire?
Sure.
Absolutely.
I was doing some research the other day and actually had forgotten that we had a woman in town who actually raced in the Women's Tour de France and was
Really?
a very, very good American cyclist for the U.S. national team for a number of years. There was a guy named Ed King who used to be our town clerk. His daughter actually had 300 wins in Europe racing. So I was thinking, when we talked about the names for the parking lots, it might be cool to put her name on one of them.
Ooh, that's awesome.
The other thing is I think right now we have to start thinking about widening Meadow Road from the bike path to Route 10 and start talking about that now so that 5 years from now, when we decide to, push that a little bit, or it comes up for discussion, that we're ready to make recommendations on, shoulder widths and things like that. Because looking at Meadow Road the way it is right now, they're going to have to change the drainage if they widen the road. So
Yes.
we need to start thinking about that. That's it.
Amen. Yeah, you're spot on. I mean, we talk a lot about an east-west route down Route 4, right? But if we can get it across Meadow Road, you solve a lot of problems that way.
It's a great alternative to
Yeah.
Route 4, but Route 4 still isn't terrible
Still,
right now.
yeah.
It's better than Meadow Road actually right now.
Yeah. But no, you have to do both. But doing Meadow Road, I mean, you talk about connectivity to schools. You've got Westwoods over there at one end. You've got Noah Wallace at the other. You got West District. There's so many. You've got Tunxus Mead there, where kids can ride their e-bikes and motor down there at 38 miles an hour. There's just so much that opens up. So.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to plant that seed. That's all I have, Brian. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Hey,
I've got one last one
go ahead,
for James. Is if there's anything that we can do that you guys bring up at the BOE, stuff that we can do to help, please let us know. I know it's always hard to get volunteers to do stuff, and if it's related to biking or bike ped stuff, we're happy to get people together and make it happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thanks, Andres. Certainly will.
Awesome. Yeah, and thanks, Matt, for your suggestion on the bike sidewalks that you sent me over. So thanks for that. And I'm just curious, Dylan, is there any discussion about Meadow Road currently, or
Not that
widening
I'm
Meadow
aware
Road?
of.
Yeah, I
No,
didn't think
not
so,
at
but
this
I
time.
checked with you. All right,
Nope.
just curious.
Well, I
All
figure
right,
with
everyone.
the progress they're making on Burlington Road, we better start now if we're going to do Meadow Road. Sorry, Dylan.
It's all right. We're pushing to get that paved as soon as possible.
Yes,
Pushing
I
to
also
get the
I also
paving
like
date
the
moved.
curbs on that, because the curbs, once you pave, will be a little more bicycle friendly if you have to get off the road in a hurry.
Yes, the park curb I like it better.
All right, do I have a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
One question before we leave. Are
sure,
we
Neil.
meeting in August?
I don't believe we're scheduled, just like
Okay.
most other committees, right?
Yeah.
We'll
Most
take
town
off.
committees take the month
Yeah.
off, so I just wanted to
Yep.
confirm that.
And
Yeah, we usually do too.
And the other thing I wanted to just bring up real quick is anything with Safe Routes to Schools, and I'm assuming the BOE. If we can get the stuff done before the school year starts, I'm sure the beginning of the school year is kind of nuts, and then it, kind of like budget season with the town council is that, you get a dead spot of a couple of months where, there's other priorities.
Okay.
So then we kind of need to keep in touch, because we're not scheduled to meet again until September now.
I would imagine curriculum is pretty much set for September.
I was just gonna say that it's gonna be very, very challenging to get anything done before the school year starts, because I think, just in from Dan's perspective, very, very soon he's gonna start getting into like the bus scheduling and things like that, and doing the dry routes for the buses, and we all know that needs to improve. So I know that he's gonna be getting to that pretty soon. And I know that the curriculum has been baked. So I think we can certainly try, but I would say it's probably going to be pretty hard this late in the game.
So on the curriculum stuff, what we're talking about would be for springtime, or would be for 2026?
Yeah, it would be Eric just went through, actually, with Eric Martin, just went through all of the curriculum changes in one of the last two board meetings that we just had for updates for 2025-26. So that process for the next school year will be starting. But if we're talking about biking to school and doing those types of programs, that's stuff that we can certainly talk about. But things to shifting in curriculum, there's certainly a process involved, and I don't want to speak for Eric or sign him up for stuff that he may not necessarily be able to do at this point.
Yeah, well, let's get that signature on Safer Schools and we'll go from there.
All
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
let's do it.
it's a good step to getting the curriculum in there, and we'll get some time to plan for that.
Thanks, guys.
Good.
Awesome,
Great.
everyone.
Thanks,
Have
everyone.
a great August, a good rest
All right.
of your summer.
Good
See
night,
ya.
you guys.
Bye.